Welcome back to the second day of Sunset Sessions hosted by Marco Messina. We are starting today off at the top with Valentina Cafola, Italian and Croatian free diver. Valentina, welcome to the Sunset Festival and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Is this your first time in Zadar?
It is my first time in Zadar, and I didn't actually expect to be here at the end, but at the end here I am because of my last year actually success. And I'm really excited about my panel as well, so let's see. It's a really nice weather, so that's a good thing at all. And the sea is always a good thing to come back.
Is it cool for you to see like something so big going on here in Croatia, and so many people who have come from all over the place? I came from New York, you've come from all over. Is that cool to see Croatia being put on the map?
It is really, because it's really international, this event, which I didn't expect. I was thinking more that it's going to be Croatian and something like that. But I was so surprised to see so many different also international places and so on, so countries,
So you have to tell me, your name is pure Italian.
Pure Italian.
But the accent's a little Croatian.
More Croatian right now because I am also in Zagreb, but maybe 5 years ago I was more Italian than Croatian, so I changed it with the time, depending on which part of Croatian I was. Because in Rovinj, where I'm from, there we speak more Italian, and especially at home I was just speaking Italian. But when I moved to Zagreb, I'm just speaking Zagreb Croatian right now. So.
Oh, is there a difference?
Yeah, well, depending on the people that are around me. In Rovinj I was more Italian because at home I was speaking Italian, while in Zagreb I'm speaking also with my boyfriend just in Croatian. So that's the difference, depending on which language I'm speaking more.
You're a master of languages too, on top of everything else.
Yeah, kind of. But I'm trying.
The most important question, when Italy played Croatia in the Euros, who did you want to win?
Depends on which player we're playing.
What do you mean?
For example, in 2006, when Italy won, it was definitely Italy because I just love all the football players were there. For example, I'm a big fan of Del Piero, which I was so...
Let's go, I knew I liked you.
I was so disappointed from last year that I didn't arrive here because I wanted to meet her. I was like, no, but I think I have something in the meantime, so I couldn't even come if I was invited. And I was like really disappointed to not have met him.
Yeah, he opened the festival outside.
Yeah.
He did the first panel.
So I was disappointed really, but maybe now, maybe more Croatian because I'm not really following that much anymore Serie A, which before I was really much more. So when I was playing Buffon and so on, so I was more also Juve type of.
Again, I knew I liked you. I'm Juventus too.
So good. So get to one.
There we go. One more. Why not?
And but right now I really don't follow anymore because also I think the other leagues are a little bit more higher now level than the Italian one, which is a disappointment. But in general. So.
And Croatia's gotten really good.
Yes.
Croatia's
so now
really
I'm following a little more. Also, my boyfriend is a really big fan of Dinamo, so I'm more in that now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to.
I have to. I have to change.
The sport that you do. It's so incredible to me. And I was looking on YouTube. I was looking up some of your stuff, your TED Talk, which was fantastic.
Thank you.
The trailer for 140 under ice.
Now it's also on YouTube, the full document, but it's just 24 minutes. So it's a short one.
Nice.
But it is, so you can also check it up if you have time.
The trailer is intense.
Is it? Yeah.
It was getting my heart pumping.
Yeah, and they make so good at actually filming the part, which was really good.
I want to know though, first thing, because I can't even imagine getting into this sort of sport, especially, I mean, I have an Italian mother. My Italian mother would never let me do something like
that, yes.
Yeah. So how do you even begin to do that, and was there pushback from your family?
Actually, it was really, so I'm doing free dive all my life. I was in the water when I even don't remember when I started doing free diving, so I don't know when I first time put the mask and started swimming.
Really?
Yeah, maybe before walking as well. Because in 2 months I already was on the ship with my family, was cruising here to Dalmatia, so 2 months I was already there. But you cannot compete, in the time when I was younger, you cannot compete if you weren't 18. So if you have to be mature to start competing. And that time, I was still 15. I was going first deep free diving. So around 30 meters I was doing at 15 years old. And in the time, how it came, my dad opened a diving school in Rovinj. So there I met a lot of people. And when I was 18, I met a couple that was searching for somebody to do the freediving under ice competition. And how I turned 18, I was thinking maybe this is a good opportunity to go back in the freediving as well, competing. And I was like, why not to try it? So, and then I started really hard training, and then my dad actually also a little bit take all the part which I was doing squats while holding my breath, swimming in winter also to get used to the cold water because in Croatia you don't have ice, so I had to get used to all that environment that I'm gonna meet there. And in 2016 I went for first time under the ice, so that was the first approach. And unfortunately, because of some mistakes on an organization, the record wasn't homologated at the time. So in 2017, I went back again and became the first female world record under CMAS, which is the federation of all the underwater sports.
So there was nobody in your family that was like, Valentina, this is too dangerous, don't do it.
No, and they know how strong I am when I something decide, so they were like, yeah.
She's gonna do it no matter what.
Yeah, for
We might as
example,
well.
last year, because after this 5 years of stop, I went back, actually a little bit more, 7 years, and all the organization, safety team was my family. So I was really so relaxed because they opened all the halls in one day almost.
Oh
All the safety they did. My brother, my father was underwater with me with the scooter. So I was so relaxed that I just come, make it and come out. That was all what I was thinking about because they took everything. So I was really, really lucky to have this kind of family with me. So
You mentioned your brother. You have any other siblings?
I have 2 brothers and 1 younger sister.
Okay. Are
Yeah.
they into it too? Are they old enough?
So my brother, which is 2.5 years younger than me, he is more into scuba diving. So he is an instructor and making all the tours. He's now also into. He took actually from my father the diving center, so now he's more into it. The second one, he is more into IT things, so he's more informatic design, 3D printer, so he's more in that part.
Completely different.
Yeah, completely different, but he's also diving and spearfishing there also quite a
Okay.
lot. So yeah, that's from my dad because he was also in the national team of Croatia a lot of years, so in that part, and also kind of all families into it, so it always was. And
Your sister?
the sister, she is 4 years old, so
Aw.
she is now just our small play, let's say.
But the influence your dad had on the rest of you, I think we know where that's
Yeah,
gonna go
yeah.
eventually.
Probably, but right now I'm in Zagreb, so which we will see if I will come back or not in rowing to get again on the business of diving, free diving. In Zagreb we don't have sea, unfortunately. It would be perfect, but for now in the pool mostly I'm training and that's it, yeah.
So seeing as your dad was so influential, you know, being in the water, getting you guys in the water, he must have been so proud when you set the record.
Yes, yes,
What
he
was that
was.
moment?
But actually, he was like, because he was under all the organization, if everything was perfect without any mistakes, he was more stressed about that. And he said to all that organized, if you don't come out, I will kill you. I will just put you under the ice and leave you there if you don't do it. And I was like, so plus I have the stress of that. Now I'm joking. Now he was joking in that because I mean he has a lot of stress for everything. Especially I'm his older daughter, the first one. So he has a lot of stress on himself about that. But after when I come out and was the white card, because in freediving you have to wait a time that to see if everything is fine with the
Okay.
briefing and so on. When I got the white card, he said it was more about me that maybe I would have a heart attack under the water than you. So he was really also because of following me, and after that when everything was finished, he was so happy.
It's so sweet. It's a
Yeah.
proper family affair.
Yeah,
You guys are all
So
involved.
I'm lucky to have them as really.
How dangerous is the sport?
Freediving in general, it's not dangerous if you're doing in the things that they said, so in the together always following not to going more than your maximum and so on. So under the ice, it is a little bit more dangerous because of the ice that you have above your head. So, but also here you have always things that you have to take care. So the hole couldn't be more than 20 meters far away from the other one. So in that case, if you follow the rules, it's not dangerous at all.
How long can you hold your breath for?
The maximum that I did was a training 5 minutes and 7 seconds.
5 minutes?
Yeah, but that's nothing for the world record that is right now, female. But I don't like the static discipline at all. So I'm more dynamic type or in the depth. But also in the depth, I reached the bottom at rowing because we don't have that much depth there. And I reached 45 meters, which I had to take something to get more deeper. So
Oh my God. I tried just as a test this morning. I said, let me see how long I can hold my breath for. I got to like a minute.
That's
Pretty
just
bad.
the way of technique of breathing. So I also said to my students, to all, because they come like, no, I never hold my breath more than 10 seconds and so on.
No, 10
but
seconds.
yeah, it's really not that much, and it's everybody can hold more than that. And also with proper training and breathing technique, you can go for 2 minutes really fast.
Really?
Yeah.
I did Wim Hof. You know Wim Hof?
I know.
His breathing. Is that the good one?
Actually, to be honest, I know him about the story because also of cold water,
Yeah.
but I didn't really learn his method, so I cannot say to truth if it is right or not, because I don't know how he's doing correctly. So.
It's like 30 deep breaths
Okay.
in and out, and then you let all the air out, and you rest for as long as you can, and you do that 3 times.
Okay. Well, the 30 seconds of breathe in and out hard, it's not really clever.
Really hard.
Yeah, it's not really that clever because you're going to hyperventilation, which can be better for one time, but this is more physiological part, so now it's going to be really inside of all the physiology part, which I don't want really to go because it's going to take time to everything understand how it's work and so on. So, but of course you will hold longer your breath in that kind of thing, but also you can get blackout really faster, so it's a plus minus.
Talk to me, you mentioned your documentary and
Yes.
that it's on YouTube for people to be able to go and watch.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how that came about, really the details and the pitch for people to watch it.
So, well, it's on YouTube, so it's for everybody, you can watch it. It's not private and not on Netflix that you have to pay to see it, so it's a good thing.
That's nice.
Yeah. It's called 140 Under Ice, so of course depending on how long I was. The detail was about all my past. It's more like talking my story into it, so mostly of what we speak today. And also it's about my love, how it came actually, all of the love for freediving, and when I started to want to compete also. So it's kind of also how my family see me. So in that part you can see also that part, which today you cannot see. And so it's a good thing, so it's not that long. Actually, a lot of people that told me it's a pity that's not longer, because then you have just the part where I speak a lot, also the video from the record, how it made and so on, how they cut the ice, but you don't have, maybe they wanted a little bit more of the events that happened there.
But it's good to have people wanting more.
Yes. Yes.
Than having the opposite of it dragging
Yeah,
on
just
for too
like
long.
it was too long or something. No, it's more than what I heard. It was too short. So
That's good.
Yeah.
Did you have it planned for a while? Was it something that you knew you always wanted to do?
For this one.
Yeah.
So after the 2017, I wanted to go back, but I changed sport because I was 19 at the time. Which in freediving, I noticed you have to be a little bit more mature in the head. So you have to know yourself. While at 19 years old, you think you know, but you understand that it's far from the truth. And in that moment, then I start doing fin swimming, which is a little bit more active sport, more physics. And after, when I reached 23, I come back to freediving, which was in 2023, which I was 26 at the time, and then understand that now I reached this maturity, which I can start doing freediving again.
And it was time.
And then I went for the world record, because it was every time a year. In 2020 I have to go, but it was Corona.
Okay, yeah.
And from that point, every year we postpone it till 2024, which happened. So that's why.
Well, I'm happy it came out, and I'm
Yeah,
happy the
yeah.
people who are listening to this right now could go and watch it. Valentina, such a pleasure.
It was a
Good
pleasure
luck
for
on
me.
your
Yeah,
paddle,
thank
and
you.
Happy
Thank
you came
you.
to Sunset Sports
Yeah,
Festival this year.
it was a pleasure.
Maybe next year Del Piero will be here again, and you could finally meet him.
Probably.
We'll let you know.
Hopefully, I could.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. How long are we? Oh, 15 minutes. Pretty good.
Okay for me to have this here because it's my pocket is small. Okay. Do I have to look there or to you? It's
You
okay.
look at me. Welcome back to Sunset Sessions, hosted by Marco Messina. We're back with another great moment, a podcast moment with Mirela Kardashevic.
Yes,
Did
good.
I say it well?
Yes.
Okay. Not too. I'm still learning my
Yeah, yeah.
Croatian pronunciations.
No, it was perfect. Thank you.
You were fantastic on the
thank
panel
you.
with Valentina
Thank
just
you.
now. Croatian freediving. It's incredible to see the images that were behind you.
Yeah.
it almost doesn't look real. It looks like AI. I can't believe that this is the sport that you do and the amount of courage that you have for it. Before we get into that, this is your first time in Zadar, I understand?
Yes, it's my first time in Zadar. I haven't seen the city yet, I have to admit. We will go check it now after, and this is my first time at Sunset Festival too.
Once you're done with me bothering you,
we can go
we'll let
check
you
a
go
bit.
over to the old city. And your first time that you've been at Sunset as
Yes.
well, right? Yeah. Did you see about it in the last years?
Yes,
Is
I
that
heard
why you
about
wanted
it
to come?
last year, but before that, no. But yeah, I've heard about it, so I'm very happy to be a part of it this year.
This is the best edition as well.
Yes.
We have, I think, 1,000 people
Yeah.
who all came in. But what my takeaway from listening to the panel and to see how successful you are as a Croatian freediver, the lack of fear. And you talked about, I know there was one question in the crowd about danger. And to me, it looks so dangerous. And you were saying it's actually not at all. It's a very safe sport.
Yeah, it is a safe sport, as I said, because we dive in such a controlled environment. I would say that like skiing is way more dangerous than freediving actually is, because we have like safety is always with us. We have a camera following us or a sensor. So if you don't push beyond your limits, of course it's safe, and you should never dive alone. So this is our first rule: never dive alone. But overall, the sport is very safe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you mentioned the ego aspect
Yes.
of it. And immediately I thought about myself, because even when we did the little lesson of how long can you hold your breath, I was trying to push it and go too far. So it's made you be very grounded and make sure that you listen to your body.
Yes, yeah, exactly. In freediving there is no ego. At the beginning, of course, I had to learn to listen to my body and not push beyond that. But you know, if you really want to try to be the best, you have to know that if this is not your day, you have to surface or you have to turn, because that way you can only enjoy freediving and improve.
I'm so fascinated by the mental side of it, because I think you could probably use it in different aspects of your life. First of all, what are you thinking when you're down there? Are you thinking about something specifically?
Yeah. Well, actually, don't think about anything. For me, because you really turn off your brain. Of course, sometimes some negative thoughts do arise, but I've learned to just let them go and for them not to affect me. So I only focus on my technique or my speed, but really thoughts are not present there. And the time goes very fast while we're diving. Like my dive time during my dives is like 4 minutes to 4:15. So it's a very long time outside, but when you're under the water, it goes by very fast.
Wow. And how do you practice that? Is there a way to practice that besides being under the water?
Well, of course, it's with training. You can also train it like some dry static outside, but you have to learn more about freediving to do so. Of course, mental training as well, but the best part is, of course, to be underwater, because that way you could connect the most with that mental side of the sport.
What is that mental training? What does it look like? Is it meditation? Is it?
Yeah, for me, it's mostly meditation, visualization, some breathing techniques. I also have like some affirmations and stuff like that. I adjusted mental training that works for me the best.
You do it every day? Even if you're training or not?
Yeah, for sure. When I'm preparing for the World Championship, I do it every day. But outside of season, like I do it like twice per year just to maintain it. I also read a lot, which helps me to be in that moment and the present moment as well.
You read a lot?
Yes, I read a lot.
Oh, does that help being present?
Yeah, for sure it does, because it helps you with the focus and the present moment. Because while you read, you know, you also have some thoughts going on in your head, but you learn not to, you know, listen to them, but you're focused on what you're reading.
So these are techniques not just for world champions, but also you think for life, for people at home to be able to improve their everyday life.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you even get started for this? Because to me it just seems outrageous. Like, and maybe that says a lot about me and my fear of water.
Yeah.
But what's your story?
I discovered freediving really just by pure accident. I started to swim a bit recreationally in a pool, and I saw freedivers diving, and I was like, wow, what is that? You know, they're all the time underwater, they looked so calm and in peace. And I did some research about it, and I saw it's a sport, there's many clubs and everything. And I sent an email to join a club, and this is how my story starts.
Really?
Yeah.
So you saw these people holding their breath for 5 minutes under the water, and you said they look like they're at peace. I want to do that.
Yeah. I needed that in my life probably, and it attracted to me. So I did some research and I started. Yeah.
That's why you're a champion and I'm not. I would do the complete opposite of that. Yeah. And was your family like very supportive of it? Did they like it? Was there anyone that didn't like it?
At the beginning, my family was a bit scared. They were not, of course, as supported as they are now because they didn't know much about freediving. They thought it was super dangerous, but then they learned more about the sport, and now they're, of course, super supportive. But there was nobody ever that was super against it or something like that. Yeah.
But do they have like a little anxiety when you're competing, when you're doing it? Anyone
No,
specific?
not anymore because they know I dive very controlled. I don't push myself beyond my limits. I learn how to, surface when I can. So no, they're very supportive and they're not scared. If you want to say it like that.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me. And did anything change for you when you did have kids and you were still competing in the sport? Does it have any effect, whether positive or even potentially negative?
Well, for sure, it's very tough, I have to say. It's tough because, of course, kids take a lot of your energy and time. They are now teenagers, so puberty and everything, so it's very tough. I don't have, the negative side is for sure that I cannot rest and sleep in on the weekends or during the days when I probably should. But I learned how to organize my life. I really pay attention a lot to sleep, so I don't go outside in the evenings and everything, so it became my lifestyle, freediving, so yeah.
I heard you guys talking about the debate about the Olympics, and it's a world game, as you mentioned, but it's not an Olympic sport. Why do you think that is? And do you think it should be?
I definitely think it should be because freediving actually is very popular in the world now. There's a lot of freedivers. Probably the biggest reason is financial because you need to, I think, have a certain budget for it to become Olympics. But more is a lack of pools because for the Olympics you have to have certain amount of pools, and there is swimming, water polo, synchronized swimming. I don't know if there's something else, so it will be for freediving. So I think it's because of that. Yeah.
But it's such a beautiful sport. It's mesmerizing when you see the picture. And I tell anyone who's watching right now to see the videos of you doing it. It looks incredible. I think it would be really beautiful also for the Olympics to see these images and to spread it because it's not something that I've ever been a part of. In New York, we don't have great water, so I didn't grow up around this. But I think it should be even for that reason.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. We are working towards it. This World Games is a big step, so we'll see what happens afterwards.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What's your best tip to swim better? Because I'm not a great swimmer, but I won't drown. That's basically where I'm at. I can kind of float and do a little doggy paddle.
What is my best tip?
Yeah, what's your best tip?
Find a coach.
Find a coach?
Yes. I cannot give like that tip, but you have to find a coach who's going to see which mistakes you do, because otherwise, it's tough. But if you want to hold your breath longer, I would also advise you to find a club to join, because that way you can only learn properly how to hold your breath, because some people like to experience on their own, which is not really the best. So I think learning from the experts is the best way to do anything. Yeah.
All right, if you were my coach, what's the first thing you would tell me?
Learn how to breathe properly.
You breathe. How do you breathe properly? I don't even know.
Through the nose, because many people breathe through the mouth, which is a big problem nowadays. And we breathe through the nose, especially before the long dives, because that way, of course, we don't remove as much CO2, which we need for breath hold. And that way, just breathe through the nose. There's like these tapes nowadays which are great. Sometimes I use them. It also prevents snoring and disformation of the jaw and your sinuses, so it's really great and important.
So in and out through the nose?
Yes.
Never the mouth?
No. I mean, also like if you are very advanced, when people run, like breathe a bit through the nose, a bit through the mouth, and then when you get used to it, you start breathing more and more through the nose. If you are in a very high intensity, then of course it's normal to take breaths through the mouth, but then when you stop to recover faster, you should breathe through the nose.
Oh, that's good. It's something that everybody could do even at home and focus. You don't even think about your breathing sometimes.
No.
Well, most of the time, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm conscious and trying to think if it's through my mouth.
It's important for our health.
Through my nose. I want to talk before I let you go, and you could go over to the old city in Zadar. Your Croatian heritage, being Croatian, and how proud you are, because you did mention that it's a smaller sport compared to football. This huge here. There's dominated in many of it, and only less than 4 million people, less than 4 million Croatians. How important is that to you, being Croatian and the connection with sport?
For me, I think it's very important that I'm a Croatian and a successful athlete in Croatia. So I would rather be Croatian and maybe not that much respected than to maybe present other country, because I have learned that even though we are such a small country, we have so many successful athletes, because I think we have this fighting mode built in us. So yeah, I'm very proud to represent Croatia, and I do hope that maybe with so many freedivers from Croatia being so successful, they're gonna start noticing us more and maybe giving us more support. But until then, we can only try and do what we can.
Is that more nurture or nature? Is it a product of the environment in Croatia, or you think you guys are just
I think we are born with it.
Fair enough. Yeah. So I have no hope.
No, of course it can be learned, but we all say we are born to be that way. So, but of course it can be learned. Yeah.
Do you have any other sports that you enjoy watching?
Basketball. Basketball is my favorite sport besides freediving. My sons also play basketball, so we watch NBA all the time, and yeah, we love it. Yeah.
Is there anything from another sport that actually could help you, like maybe watch or techniques that you've learned that are
swimming,
implemented?
of course. Swimming helps you to be more comfortable in the water, and of course with the technique. But for example, martial sports are also very great for freediving because they develop a very strong lung capacity. So that and rowing, so it's also great for freediving. Yeah.
And that monofin. Tell me about that. It looks so difficult. It's literally both of your feet are connected to it. You almost look like a mermaid going through the water.
Yeah.
The first time that you wore it, was it really difficult?
It is, because it's a very big surface, so it makes your legs very tired, but that's why you train, of course, in the gym, in the pool. But for me, it's probably my favorite discipline because it's so smooth and you dive with the rhythm, so it's very beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost poetic.
Yeah, it is.
You guys go like that.
Yeah.
Mirela, it's such a pleasure. I'll let you go to the Old City. Thank you for being on, and thank you for coming to the Sunset Sports Festival. Ciao.
Bye.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Did you ever ask your boyfriend?
Yes, but he doesn't know. He said.
By Marco Messina. I have a very special guest here, first time in Croatia, Diego Garcia, sports marketing at Nike. Diego, how you doing?
Amazing, man. I love this. You can't go wrong here. So experience has been amazing. I'm feeling great. The festival has been unbelievable. So really good.
You told me right when you said that, you said it's my first time in Croatia.
Yes.
The festival's not even done yet.
Yes.
You still have plenty of panels, and you said I'm already thinking about how I got to come back next year.
I'm already trying to make plans. How can I come back here? Because as I mentioned, I didn't know what to expect. Obviously, you hear a lot of things about Croatia, Zadar, Split, especially Zadar. But I didn't know what to expect. And once I got here, it blew my mind. Obviously, the festival itself, it's amazing. But the city, the weather is so beautiful, it's so chill. So it makes me want to come back right away.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
You got in when? Just a couple days ago?
A couple days ago, yeah.
And you already love it?
Yeah, I already love it. Awesome. The boat trip yesterday.
The boat was fun.
The beach over here, just amazing. The water is so beautiful. It's just good.
That was my experience 4 years ago.
Yes.
And somehow I keep getting invited
here again. Yes.
Year after year.
You might be here for me 4 years from now. I might be here, saying the same thing to the next person. So.
Bro, hopefully.
Yeah.
So you're from Brazil. You live in Brazil?
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Brazil.
Okay.
But I live in the States now. I live in Los Angeles.
Awesome.
I've been living, got transferred there for work, so I've been living in the States for about 4 years now, almost 5 years.
You like LA?
I love LA, man. I think LA, it's similar to Brazil in a way. The culture is very diverse. Obviously the weather is also really nice, and there's a lot of business in LA too, which is the reason why I moved to LA. So I like it a lot.
Your story is pretty fascinating. You went to Harvard as well, but you're doing so many important things at Nike, and we'll get into that. But how did you get started, and then how did you end up going to Harvard?
Yeah, so play a little ball in Brazil. Grew up playing basketball in Brazil. That was my passion.
Basketball in Brazil.
Basketball in Brazil.
Is it popular?
Yes, it's really popular. People don't know basketball is really popular in Brazil. Obviously, Brazil is massive, and soccer is super popular. So I think that's why a lot of people.
I almost didn't even ask.
Yeah, exactly.
I was about to say, football, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, he's gonna be like,
yes.
Of course.
I mean, football is part of whatever you do in Brazil growing up. But basketball is also really big in Brazil. You know,
You never knew.
we have had like a lot of guys going to the NBA. You know, like the Leandro Barbosas of the world, Anderson Varejão, and all those guys. There's also a very strong league in Brazil. So basketball is really important in Brazil. I think it has the potential to get even bigger, but people would be surprised about how big basketball is in Brazil.
I never would have made that connection. How'd you get into it? Was it somebody in your family? Was it the kids in your neighborhood?
Yeah, I mean, my uncle gave me this basketball and this Michael Jordan jersey. You know, I didn't really know what basketball was. And then it was right around Space Jam, you know, when Space Jam came out.
Yeah.
And then I think everything clicked, and I was like, okay, this is my thing. And then from there, I never looked back, you know. And then started playing in Brazil, play a little bit, you know, kind of at a junior level. Never really wanted to make it to the pro level. It was really like, you know, my passion. And then graduated in marketing and advertising. I was doing something completely different, but then at some point I was like, I gotta do something that I really, really love. My career gotta be about something that I love. And then I was like, okay, I love sports, love basketball, love sports. I love marketing. And then I was like, okay, there's this thing called sports marketing, you know, that in Brazil at that point, it was like a little bit like people didn't know what sports marketing really was.
How old were you at the time?
I was probably about 16, 17.
Okay, so young.
Yeah, I was young. Yeah, I was young. I want to say probably 19, 18, you know, because that's when I was in college. I'm like, okay, I want to know what this thing is about. You know, this might be my thing, and you know, long story short, yes, you know. So I went and you know got a degree in sports marketing, and then I was trying to get into the industry, right? Nike was like, you know, the brand that I loved. Basketball was like again my passion. I'm like, okay, I want to do sports marketing, you know, at Nike. Then I realized how hard it was, you know, so it took me 4 years to get a job at Nike, you know. My first job didn't have anything to do with sports marketing. I was a customer service rep for the sales team.
Nice.
I was entering orders, you know, like, you know, for the Foot Lockers of the world in Brazil. I was entering orders for, you know, those guys, which was really good. Looking back, was really good because
Did you learn some stuff?
It helped me like understand how the company worked from like, you know, logistics, operations, you know, sales and all that. And then at some point I got an opportunity with a sports marketing team in basketball. I was, you know, overseeing like, you know, we sponsored the Basketball Confederation in Brazil. So the national team and all that. So that's how it started, you know, and then from there, you know, got transferred to LA, you know, and then here I am now.
And then in the middle of all that, just Harvard. No biggie.
And then Harvard happened too, you know. There's this program at Harvard called the Business of Entertainment and Sports, and obviously caught my eyes. I had a couple people who I knew, you know, went there, and also they have athletes going to that same program, which was the one thing, you know, I think like Dirk Nowitzki, you know, some guys, I think Dwayne Wade, you know, so I'm like.
Were they in your class?
No, not in my class, but you know, over the years, I was always
there.
seeing that. I was like, that's really interesting. And at some point, I wanna apply. Apply the first year, they didn't select me, and then finally it came back the next year, and then I got selected, you know, and it was amazing. You know, one of the best experiences that I had, and that was actually how I got here, through some of my connections in Harvard. You know, someone hit me up and was like, hey, we have this festival, you know, in Croatia. I think you would be a great fit. You know, you don't have to go there to represent Nike. You can represent yourself, just your experience and all that, which is what I did here. So again, I didn't know what to expect, and then I'm here now, and I'm like, you guys got to know this. You know, this is super cool. Like, you know, the level of networking here, the level of panels, you know, the amount of stuff that I learned in like 2 days here. It's amazing. Big, you know, sports brains here, you know, business brains here. So, yeah, people got to check out.
That's awesome. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
I want to hear a little bit more about like what you're doing on the day to day. Like what's some stuff that you're handling that people maybe know about, or some behind the scenes to what you're working on.
Yeah, so I basically, you know, handle athletes, you know, for Nike, but that has been my career. Focus on like, you know, developing athletes' business, connecting the dots with, you know, the companies and the company that I work for. I've worked with a lot of guys, you know, in Brazil. I worked with those guys that I mentioned, Leandro Barbosa, you know, Varejão. Worked with some of the football guys as well, like Ronaldinho, R10, you know, Vini Jr., just in a couple, you know, events. But, you know, being around those guys too.
You work with Ronaldinho?
Yes. I had the opportunity to be around him for like, you know, a few times.
What'd you do with Ronaldinho?
We did a couple of things, you know, around the World Cup. When Kobe went to Brazil, I think in 2013,
okay.
We connected them because, you know, Ronaldinho is a big, you know, basketball fan, and Kobe, you know, rest in peace, Kobe was a big basketball guy too. So that was one of the things that we did together. And now I'm focusing on some of the NBA players. You know, Ja Morant is one of my guys.
That's a big one.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a little bit of what I do.
Yeah, I want to dive deeper onto Ja, because obviously he's somebody that a lot of people will know, but also just like the behind the scenes of you handling their account, what goes into it, even when they have a signature shoe.
Yeah.
Like what's the dynamics and how do you speak with them and present them ideas? How does that usually work?
Yeah, I'll say the same thing that I said during my panel. You know, I think for me, my personal approach, you know, even beyond Nike, this is not necessarily, but my personal approach is always like, treat those guys as human beings first. You know, like I got to be able to connect with the human being, and then I'll be able to understand the athlete. You know, that guy that we see doing stuff on the court, on the pitch, or whatever. That's one of their, you know, angles, but they're also human beings that want to be treated as human beings as well.
So how do you develop that trust? Because it could be hard.
It's not easy.
They get screwed over by a lot of people.
Exactly, you got the point. You know, they have a lot of people around them trying to connect with them for various reasons. So it's not easy. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of patience. You know, I have been to many situations where I traveled to see this one guy, and the guy just like said, "What's up?" and walked past me, you know. And it's part like once you start learning that dynamic, it takes time, and it's got to be natural. Like you can't force. Again, in my experience, you know, I think if you try to force, if you try to do too much, that's when guys, you know, will push you away. But if you just look genuinely at that, you know, to try to help them, to try to understand them, at some point it's gonna happen. You know, it's not always, but you know, eventually, you know, it happens. So.
Yeah, definitely. It's the most important thing is to build that human connection, and then you could always take it to the next level. Have you been in any situations that you could give like examples of, you know, times that you've been able to present things or different projects that maybe people will know about?
Yeah, I mean, it happens. It happens all the time. You know, I think once you have that personal connection, it's much easier for you to come up with like new ideas because you're able to see beyond kind of the obvious, you know, what people can see on TV or maybe on social media. Again, that's probably like 40 to 50% of what those guys are. You know, I think we saw yesterday here a panel with Stipe Miocic. I'm a huge UFC guy. I've been following that guy for so many years. I'd had no clue that, you know, he was like so easygoing, you know, had such a cool personality. So I think that for me right there is an example of like something that I was like, wow, there's so much more about that guy. And I think to answer to your question, that's when you're able to come up with like new ideas, you know. For a guy like Stipe now, like you could think about like a podcast for him, you know, or something like that, just because now you're able to see something beyond what, you know, I used to see, you know, on the cage, you know, or doing fights and all that. So I guess that's a little bit of the approach.
And I think his personality was the most marketable thing, because I hadn't heard him speak before, but my God, he was hilarious, he was so honest, and it really, you're drawn to that, because a lot of people are trying to put on, you know, some sort of show and protect themselves and look as the best version of themselves, and he was just like organically him.
Yeah, and I think, not to cut you off, sorry, but I think what you said makes a lot of sense. And I think, you know, obviously Stipe is from like an older generation of athletes, you know, like millennials and all that. I'm seeing Gen Z athletes, they want to be themselves the whole time. Okay. You know, I think in the past, guys had to, you know, put up, you know, that face a little bit, because everything was like TV, interviews, something more formal. I think now with acknowledging cell phones and social media, those guys, they want to be themselves the whole time, which is amazing, right? Because you're able to expand their brands much more than, you know, on a regular, you know, way that we used to know in the past.
Absolutely. And how do you create that storyline? Because everyone's trying to tell stories, right? What does that mean to you? And is this like a sort of conversation that you have to have with an athlete, with like a Ja, for example? And like, how do you brainstorm it out in your mind?
Yeah, I think it goes both ways, with those guys. I think, at the same time, they don't know what they don't know. So I think it's our job to also show them maybe a size of their brand that they don't know, or how to approach, a topic that they don't really know how to do. So I think that's when the relationship is super important, right? You got to be able to sit down with them hey, I know that you have this idea, but this is a better approach, and I know from experience, and I know because I've done it in the past. Or maybe it's the opposite, maybe we know how to do something in a way, but then they're going to come with something different, and they're okay, maybe we'll try your approach this time. So it's got to be both ways, I think the relationship again is going to be the key for you, because if you can have this conversation, and obviously guys have, their managers, their marketing guys, and a lot of times you're having those conversations with them. But again, this is just my experience. I feel like you have to be able to speak to the athlete at some point, So I think that's what, helps just come up with new ideas and fresh ideas, because it's a lot of noise too these days, right?
100%.
So you have to be able to cut through that noise. And I think for the new audience, it's got to be something compelling. It's got to be something that they can actually connect with. Otherwise, it's just going to be scroll and then go to the next thing.
It's true. That's why you have a tough job.
Yes.
We appreciate you sitting down with us, Diego.
For sure, man. Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoy Sunset, and I hope I'm here next year, and I hope you're
there
here
you
as
go.
well.
I'm definitely coming back.
Pleasure, bro.
Thank you, man.
Thanks,
appreciate
man.
it. Yeah.
Bravo.
Good. That was
stuff,
good.
man.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Sunset Sessions, hosted by Marco Messina. We have a very special guest who's sitting down with us, fresh off his panel, Mark Bennett from CAA, but agent also to the stars, some of the biggest personalities on the internet right now, Speed and KSI.
Yeah, they're pretty big right now.
I think I've heard of them.
Yeah,
Just seen their clips a few times. How was your panel?
Yeah, it was great. It's been this entire experience at Sunset has been great. Conferences are really interesting. Myself aside, really great, inspiring people to hear from and listen to. And just a lot of fun actually, and a lot of opportunity to play a lot of different sports, whether it's been pickleball or tennis or volleyball or golf. It's a real, Sunset Sports is a real good festival there. It's been fun.
Have you never been before, right?
No.
And have you ever been to Croatia before this?
This is a tricky one. I don't remember. I'm not sure.
Must have been a good trip.
It was either a really great trip or, I've been to a lot of places.
Okay.
I've kind of lost track.
Oh, wow.
Which sounds a bit, but no, I don't think I had. Okay. Yeah, if I have, it's been Zagreb.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the most memorable one, at least.
100%.
So far.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. And I heard you say at the end, Speed is going to come? Maybe not to Sunset, but he's going to come to Croatia.
I think he has ambitions to revisit Europe, and Croatia is definitely on the list of places he wants to come.
Yeah, I think they'll love him over here.
I hope so, yeah. I mean, he's loved everywhere he goes, so I imagine the friendliness that I've experienced over the last few days, I'm sure he'll also get, yeah.
It's been super cool to speak to you off camera, get to know your story, and even your mindset behind the way that you tailor some of the content as well, how you throw ideas out there. But how did you get started? How did you even meet Speed and get to become his agent?
Speed specifically, so I've been an agent for a number of years, primarily in music, and I formed a relationship with, I've been working with KSI for a number of years, and he was signed to Atlantic Records, which is Warner Records, and my name got bandied around, I think, internally there or in the US, and Speed signed a record deal as well. Not a lot of people may be fully aware, but he is signed to a major label for music.
I heard the World Cup song.
Yeah, I mean...
Was that your touch behind it?
No, not at all. That's why it done so well.
Fair enough.
I think, so he signed to Warner, and then there was a gentleman there called Miles Gersh, who he reached out, and through Miles and then Mason, who manages him, we just started having a conversation very early on. And at my point in my career, I wasn't entirely sure particularly with me being based in the UK and Speed being in the US, how I could add value. And for me, it's really important when you work with anyone that you really have a considered approach, because I think that anybody can be like, hey, I need an agent, and any agent can be like, yeah, I'll represent you, and then just leave you on the sidelines or just deal with incoming work that doesn't really add any value to anyone's career if they're wanting that help. So for me, I've always worked with people where I go, okay, I think they're great, but where do I help? And if I can't, then a lot of the times I'll be like, hey, I really love what you do, but I'll be a supporter on the sideline, and good luck to you.
That probably makes them want you even more as an agent.
Well, potentially, but it's just, I think it's a responsible approach, because you're not dealing with someone's career necessarily as such, you're also dealing with someone's dreams. And that's probably worse, to go in and mess that up. So for me, I've always kind of just gone, can I add value here? And what do I do? And for a long part of the courting process almost with Speed, it was like, can I help him? Do I add value here? And the more I got to know him, the more I hung out with him, and the more that I seen how he was like moving and how he was wanting to do things, I started naturally helping him. So I remember on his first couple of trips to the UK, it was just things that he hadn't thought about that I'd already experienced, whether that was working with talent in music or in sports or in other areas. And it was just about, that's where kind of it started, me going, hey, you know, your security should also not be the driver. You should have someone who drives you and then security separately, because you need to be able to move quickly. Just like really basic understanding. You can't walk around, like you need to plan where you're going. You need to understand that you can't just make decisions like this. You need to go in and check that the venue is secure before you go in.
Oh, is that what he was doing before?
He was just, he was young, and you know, I think when we started working together, he was either just at the end of 16 or just starting to be 17.
That young?
I mean, he's only 20 now.
Yeah.
So people forget about that.
I didn't realize he started at 16.
Yeah, well, I mean, he started younger, started streaming younger than
You
that.
guys together, wow.
So yeah, that's kind of how we kind of naturally started working together. But I just started helping him, and then over a course of time, I was like, oh yeah, actually, I think I can help a bit here. And then we got some commercial opportunities and branding stuff early on that was easy stuff to help and navigate for him. And then obviously over time, it's gone well.
Yeah.
And the roles have changed, and we're very fortunate that that team and also the team around KSI is actually quite small. When people think about these content creators and these talent, they think about all they're achieving, and they think, oh, there must be huge numbers of people that work for them. It's not really.
How many?
I would say the core KSI team. KSI is slightly different because he has the sidemen, who are a group that he's been part of for a long time.
Of course.
And they do have a much wider and bigger infrastructure. But for KSI, the core team, for a long period of time, was like 3 people around him.
Really?
Yeah, and then we were very fortunate a couple of years ago to bring in someone else who now is like his day-to-day, and he's great. But really, the core team is like 4 or 5 people around him, and they're, but his business like Prime, there's probably 4 or 5 people that are core there, but then a whole bunch more behind the scenes. His record deal with Atlantic Record, there's a whole team there that work for him. I obviously have access to a whole team in CAA for him, and then also his management company has other different parts of their business that are also really beneficial to help him as well. But ultimately, the core team where we all get together and we discuss what we're doing, like strategically and ideas, it's generally 3 or 4 people and him. And then Speed is really similar, and him and KSI are very similar in a lot of ways. But the core team around Speed is again probably 3 or 4 people.
I would have thought at least 10.
No, there's offshoots of different things. So for like his content, he'll have his editors and his content team and his creatives and his cameraman. For his music, again, he'll have multiple people there. Within my company, there'll be a bunch of people that will help him there. But ultimately, the core nucleus of the team is quite small.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you also, speaking to you, I found out, I would have thought traditionally an agent, it's like, you're signing contracts or you're the guy behind the scenes, but you even will tap into some of the content and help give him tips on what he should be able to do as well. So you're not just a guy behind the scenes that is bringing him brand deals.
Yeah, I think the relationship, I think the agent relationship is going to come full circle. And I think that if you look at the history of agenting from the early days, your agent was your go-to. Hey, I need this, can you help me? I need that, can you help me? And I think that at some point, maybe it's the growth of social media and the connectivity where everybody can get to anybody at any time, and everybody is like, hey, I can do this for you, I can do that for you, I can do the other for you. But quite often you find that those people that reach out, they're not doing it for the strategic growth of that person's career. They're not doing it for the good of the client. They're doing it because there's probably an opportunity for them to either make some money or get something in return from wherever. And I think that my viewpoint has always been, and I've read lots of books about the history of the agency business, but my viewpoint has always been to be that person for a client or a management team where they can pick up the phone and they're like, be their partner on anything. And that can be, yeah, all right, we've got this brand deal. What's our viewpoint on it? What's the money? How do we drive it up? And listen, we can, negotiating deals is something I've done for a long time, and I feel very comfortable and competent with it. Helping on the creative and content, less so. And there's much better people in and around Speed and KSI, predominantly themselves, that can help them. But there has been conversations over the last couple of years on ideas where I've thrown in, and sometimes they look at me like, what are you talking about?
Like what?
No. But then sometimes going, actually, yeah, that's really cool.
Have any example of that?
And it's, pardon?
You have any example of that? Where they were maybe skeptical and then it worked out?
Oh, there's so many times. Like I can be in a car and be like, yo, what about this? And Speed just be looking at me like deadpan, just no. But it's fine. Like they know what's best for their audiences. So you can't have an ego to think that you can tell them what to do. They're going to know best. But what you can do is you can look at a situation and go, hey, what about doing this? And they'll go, actually, there's something there, but it needs tweaking. Or going, yeah, that's actually a banger idea. So yeah, I think the relationship between talent and agent should be more entwined than it has been. And I worked in music for a long time where there's a separation. So you have, and there is a real need for that, because the role of a music manager encompasses way, way, way more, because there's studio sessions, there's writing, there's record deals, there's live touring, and there's not also that sometimes direct relationship that you can have with a client. But I think what I've been doing and really love is that I work such closely with my managers and my clients that we all trust each other to get whatever's best done for the client. And so yeah, I think it's just the best way. And so I'm happy to jump in on anything, even if it's like, hey, we've got this crazy idea for doing, like, I've worked hours and hours and hours and stuff for Speed where there's no transactional opportunity, there's no commercial opportunity for me, but there's an opportunity to go, we're growing him, we're creating content for his audience. And if we continue to do that in a right way, then long term, there will be opportunities that come in that commercially we will all make money from. And it's true. Speed right now is in an incredible position. KSI is in an incredible position commercially, not only from brand opportunities or people that want to work with him or pay to work with him, but also, their business ventures that they're making now, their investments that they're making. And so that comes from a place of understanding that, from what I was saying earlier, is when I take on a client, I always look at it from a position of their career and their dreams are in somewhat my hands in terms of an aspect of that. And so when I take on someone, I'm like, all right, I'm going to be working with you for hopefully life, but for a long time. And so I'm happy to help not take short-term decisions for long-term growth and long-term opportunities.
We saw he first streamer to hit 40 million subscribers on YouTube.
Okay.
It's a pretty good achievement.
I struggle to keep up with all of his achievements. He's doing great, and I think the work that he puts in and the work ethic that he has. I don't necessarily know if everyone always sees it, or if also, you know, because he is so engaging and so fun and so entertaining, people want to see him all the time. And so sometimes when he needs to take a break, and he does, like anybody, we're all human beings, we all need to have some downtime. I think his audience can sometimes be like, oh, he's part-time streamer, or he's not available, or he's not doing this, but his work ethic's insane. Like, if he's not on stream, he's doing something, he's creating content, we're on the phone. And of course, he obviously does need time off, but him getting 40 million is great, but I know that the moment he crashed into the screen the other day, hitting 40 million when he got up, he was going, right, what am I doing for my 50 million? Because that's how he thinks,
yeah.
And that's the right way. And when he hits that 50 million, he might even bypass 60. He might be like, all right, 75 million or 100 million. And that's just the way he's driven, which is great. And I know when he had, you know, he broke the streaming record at the Ballon d'Or, I know immediately in his head he went, all right, that was great, amazing. When do I break the next one? And then he did break it in Indonesia, and you know, 1 million plus people watched him concurrently. I'm sure in the back of his head, I think that was a real big milestone for him, but I'm sure at some point he went, can I get to 2?
Yeah.
Or can I get to 1.5? And that's just how he is, and that's how he's driven.
Yeah.
And that's great. And that's what makes him such a great talent.
Absolutely. We're fresh off of the Champions League show that he was on in the final over here in Munich. Can you tell some behind the scenes stuff, like some moments that he's had throughout his career that, like how was it working with the Champions League crew? Because obviously Micah and Jamie and Henri and Kate, they're awesome. How was his interactions with them?
Yeah, I think we're very fortunate that it's taken a moment for people to understand the value add and understanding how creators like this can drive and bring eyeballs. And we see it, like for every CBS post where it's like, oh, that was funny, there'll be a whole slew of football fans or audience that just don't get why he's there. And that's great. It's the look, I go football every week, and I look around the ground and I see people from all different parts of the world watching my team, and there is people within there who look at them and are like, oh, they're tourists, and they are tourists. And there is this whole understanding that the loyal fan that's been there for a long time isn't wanted. But I think the reality is that there's a place for everybody. And a part of me goes, well, hold on a minute. This fan who may live in America, or may live in Japan, or may live in Africa, or may live in different parts of the world, they've saved up their money to fly over the world to go for their one game of the year where it means everything to them. And they might be part of their supporters clubs and this. So I think that the world has to understand that football is a global game, and the top teams are becoming more and more successful because of it being a global audience and a global game. And I think he's a part of that. And I think the more that he brings eyeballs and audiences to big moments and to big opportunities to football or other sports is really important. And so CBS have been great with us. UEFA have been great with us last week. You know, I think there's been a pathway. It's taken a moment. You know, I remember a couple of years ago him struggling to get into games, people not wanting him there, people not understanding why he has a camera. And I think that there's been us saying, hey, look, we respect and understand the parameters of what you do and what you need to do. And we know that if you look at just a football situation or a soccer situation, wherever this goes out, broadcasters around the world have paid huge sums of money for the rights to show this game. You clearly then don't want someone on YouTube showing the game on their channel for free.
Yeah.
And we get that, and we understand that.
He was showing his face, right, in the beginning?
But then there's been a misunderstanding as to what he can show, what he can't show. And I think the more that he's been educated and the more we understand, again, the parameters of what we do, it becomes the benefit for everybody. And that's where it becomes less friction based relationship and more collaborative. And I think that recently we've seen that, and the results from last week are crazy. Everybody benefited. UEFA benefited, Speed benefited, CBS benefited, probably PSG benefited. Maybe Inter didn't benefit, but it wasn't a good weekend for them. But, you know, if they had won, they probably would have benefited from some overlap from him. And that's, I think, the right way for big sporting events and big companies to work with a content creator in the right way, where everybody comes out of it and go, oh my God, we had all of these views, we had all of this attention. And I wrote a post about it a couple of days ago, like the biggest club game in world football, how do you make it bigger?
Yeah.
And it's really, really, really hard. But then you've got this kid who just loves the sport, who comes along and wants to put 10 million eyeballs on the product and in and around the product immediately, and then all of those getting clipped everywhere. It just creates even more moments. So I think I've dodged your behind the scenes conversations because I know the one you're trying to get me to say, but ultimately I think it's the benefits for everyone working together.
Did he really not know who Materazzi was? He's too young for that?
That would have been the 2006 World Cup final. Yeah. He was born in 2005.
Wow.
So when he was guided towards jokingly headbutting Materazzi, he genuinely didn't know the context of what he was doing. But he'd seen the clip. So when we told him, he was like, that's the guy that Zidane got sent off. You made me do that? So he knew the clip, and he'd seen the clip. Because he gets a lot of criticism, Speed, for not being a football fan.
Yeah.
He consumes more football than most people.
Yeah.
And like I remember being on a plane with him, and I look over and he's like watching a game. Like it was a Saudi League game, and I was like, oh, is that Ronaldo game? He's like, no, he's just watching another game. He loves the sport. And he loves so many other sports, and he's athletic as hell. So no, he didn't know who Materazzi was to look at, and I didn't. And I'm a huge football fan. But in the moment afterwards, he certainly knew what he'd done. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. I imagine there's players reaching out to Speed now, trying to stream with him. Who's he closest with? Is there any player specific?
He talks with a bunch of people. Look, footballers, for a long time, I think music was the sort of cultural zeitgeist. And music will always have a place for culture. And then I think sport has always been something everybody has always had. But I think there was a tipping point. Maybe David Beckham, when he became, or Michael Jordan probably initially, but in sport and soccer, and you can go back to your Pelés and you can go back to your Maradonas, and David Beckham became like a brand icon, and I think that then made football, at least in the UK where I'm from, culturally cross over more so, and I think that football has stayed the pathway. And I think that the proportion, gamers and streamers right now, culturally, are at this place now where music, film and TV and sport were. And while sport has continued on its pathway, film and TV has dropped a little bit, music has dropped a little bit, and streamers have taken that space. So naturally the crossover between sports athletes and soccer and football and streamers is going to happen. And so for the smart footballers who want to, not even smart ones, just naturally, they understand. And a lot of footballers have a lot of free time on their hands, and they used to play golf. Now they play video games. And then they go online to watch other video games, play video games. So they're naturally fans. Last week we linked up with Alphonso Davies. Yeah. And Alphonso and him have been speaking for years. Back and forth. They've argued about racing each other, whatever. And it was nice to get them finally on stream together. It was a surprise for Speed. I met Alphonso years ago on a night out with KSI. Actually, we brought Alfonso to a KSI music show, and Alfonso went on stage with him.
No way.
And I remember when Fonzie turned up, I said to him, "Oh, we're going to get you to go on stage with a mic," and he was like, "No, I don't do that." And I was like, I remember walking away, and KSI's day-to-day manager, or maybe his tour manager, went to me, "Yo, Alfonso doesn't want to do it." I said, "He'll be side of stage. Don't tell JJ, just get KSI. Just get KSI to announce, 'Yo, Alfonso Davies in the house,' and get him on stage and hand him a mic." Fonzie loved it, absolutely loved it. So we obtained a relationship, and then we brought Fonzie down and joined the stream. But Hakimi came over to him. We've seen Dua doing the dance. Donnarumma came over to him. I mean, Nasser came over to him, who owns PSG. Every football club who will see, or football player who will see Speed, maybe not Messi, but 99% of people always greet him with a smiling face and know him and engage with him and enjoy him.
That's wild.
You see Marcelo the other day, or the only one maybe has been Jamie. Jamie's a bit different, but I think Jamie's learned. I think there's a love-hate relationship where it's way more love now, and I think Jamie posted 2 clips from last week, and I think they're 2 of his 3 biggest clips of all time. So I think Jamie now sees the benefit.
Okay.
And
but he's like the older uncle figure too. Like that's like a little bit.
Well, Jamie's also Scouse, and they have a different mentality of certain things and different traditions and ways. And I've always said to Speed, "I'll never let you go to Anfield. You'll never come into Anfield.
Why?
This is my club." And it's like, I won't let you interfere with that, but also you're not going to be welcomed there. And as a Man United fan, you're definitely going to not be welcomed
and you were telling me, you said that sometimes people will say stuff in the comments, whatever, about being a football fan, but you said he watches every Man United game. Even
Every
though
Man United
Ronaldo's
game.
not there anymore. He still remained as a United.
I know, it's really frustrating. Well, I mean, I don't care because of where United are, but it's somewhat frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't, every time they play, I mean, I text him, being like, "Having a good day?" And he's like, "Go away." Like, he genuinely gets upset. And like, we can call him, and he'll be like, "Yo, what are we doing today? What's going on? Man United have played and lost and played badly. His tone will be like, "Yo, okay."
You see, but that's a beautiful thing too. Like, not everybody has to go into it as the biggest football fan in the world. We want to develop fans. We want to bring this game to new kids that don't know. And then look, they could get hooked, they could get addicted, and now it determines the outcome of his day.
Yeah, he is obviously he's late to this sport.
Yeah.
He's an American kid. He grew up with NFL, NBA.
Makes sense.
And like, his knowledge in those sports are ridiculous. Like, and I know on camera and sometimes it can be perceived slightly different, but when you talk to him on a level, and I'm a big Eagles fan, so going to the Super Bowl this year was great. But his understanding of those sports are great, and over time, he's learned through playing FIFA, he's learned from going to games, and he's learned from watching. And he does a hell of a lot of that. And I think that I'm trying to think of the right way to articulate, but there can sometimes be a skepticism of new fans by fans who've grown up with it and love it and longer and have it for more. But I think football should be accessible to everybody because it is this incredible sport. It's like, for me, it's 90 minutes where you can have the world's problems in your head. I go to watch my team, and for 90 minutes, I don't really care about anything else. I care about the result. I care about the win. And for people who grow up in that way, that don't understand new fans coming in, I think they need to just be like, well, hold on, why do you love it? You love it for these reasons. Why won't this person love it? Just because they lived in a place where it wasn't accessible to them or wasn't as mainstream to them in the early days. And he's just taken to it. A lot of people criticize him for, and even Jamie, using it as a way to get his numbers up or whatever. And maybe there was a part of that at a certain point. I just think that with him and Ronaldo, I mean, he just loves, Ronaldo is like his mentor. He like this player who just had this work ethic to be the best, to train the hardest, eat the best, and that's why Speed loves Ronaldo, and that's why Speed has watched football and gone, this game's great, and wants to watch it.
It's awesome.
So that's it. That's kind
really
of
awesome.
his reason for loving football. And now, Baller League is a league he set up with KSI, and he went to one of the events at the end of April. And immediately he's there going, okay, this is great, this is great, this is great. But you know what? We should change this. We should change this. And Baller League's viewpoint is a slightly differing audience, a slightly younger audience, initially anyway. So he's now bringing something to the table for sport in a new form. So yes, it's been great. It's been great.
And you being an NFL fan, was it kind of surreal with Tom Brady and his kids being like fans of speed?
I mean, Tom Brady is the ultimate American dream in some respects, you know. And I love stories where people have been overlooked or not been given opportunity for one reason or another, and then they just work incredibly hard or push through and become the level of what Tom has become. In regards to his kids, not really. Everywhere we go, it's like, hey, I love you because I always see you on in my house because my kids have got you on the screen 24/7. It's everyone. It's not just Tom Brady. And it's nice that it's Tom Brady and these people that are celebrated and are at the top of their game. Of course it means something. But I'm looking out, you know, we've got glass in front of us and there's what, 20 people out there? If that person came over to me and said, hey, my kids love speed and he's on in my house all the time, it would mean exactly the same.
Yeah.
I think it's not because of what you've achieved or what you've done that makes the sentiment any different. I think it's important that the sentiment from wherever is actually understood and appreciated. But just that Tom Brady sees speed, and I was talking to Tom a little bit about stuff he wants to do. And maybe for me, hearing Tom talk about speed being inspiring to him as to where, you know, Tom is now looking, you know, potentially in his career at the next steps, and he's making loads. But sports athletes are now looking at, you know, Ronaldo has a YouTube channel, Jude Bellingham has a YouTube channel. They're looking at what he's doing and what Kai Cenat's doing and what Mr. Beast's doing and what KSI is doing and what the Sidemen are doing and AMP and all these content creators are at the top of the game. And I know I've only mentioned just a few that are. They're looking at what they're doing, and I think someone like that coming over and talking to me or talking to Speed or talking to his management team and going, what you're doing is inspiring me to do stuff. That means that's crazy, rather than, hey, you know, my family are also fans of yours. That means more.
That's crazy. I don't know if you could tell us the answer to this question, but what's the meaning of this green apple at the end? Is there a story behind it?
Well, we should cut right now, right?
Because, okay, that's his thing.
That's it, green apples.
Can you tell us?
I don't know.
Can't.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
It just started randomly?
It was a beautiful thing. It's great.
That's it, green apple.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
There we
Thanks so
go.
much for coming to Sunset
That's all right.
Sports Festival, and
Yeah,
I
it's
hope
been
you
great.
enjoy the rest of your time in Croatia.
Yeah, when are we cutting?
Green apple.
Green apples. There we go.
Thanks,
there we
man.
go.
Appreciate
Cheers.
you.
No worries.
Welcome back to Sunset Sessions, hosted by Marco Messina. And right now, we got the big dogs on the couch with me. Lead producer of UCL Today, Matt Curtis, and then the brains behind the operation, and my boss, Pete Radovich. What's up, guys? Welcome to the show.
How are you?
You look very excited to be here.
I'm excited to be talking to you, Marco, as always.
Pete, you've been waiting for this moment.
Oh, it's great. I think we have an opportunity to make history here. Have someone fired for the first time live on a podcast. If you misstep.
Where's my misstep going to come from?
I'm just saying, we're gonna test you a little bit.
Constant analysis.
Yeah, I've seen. All I've done is big up Croatia.
No, Mark, honestly, we've done this now 4 years. You are one of the only all 4-year OGs that comes every year. You're part of the family. You're unofficial Croatian. I wish you were taller so that we can make you officially Croatian.
He's always got something. You know, it's like right when
If you were just a little taller, maybe we could figure something out. But unfortunately, there is a height requirement in this country. But otherwise, you're an almost official Croatian.
Yeah, I just had my Micah moment. That was my intro where I thought I was getting bigged up, and now you guys know where it comes from. Right there, I got so excited for something. I was like, damn, I'm getting a compliment from Big P Radovich. And then with
There
Ken
you go.
crumbling down. You know, I had a lot of people sit here. Diego was on before, and he said, what do I got to do to keep coming back every year to Croatia? They're asking me for tips. But Pete, on a serious note, how much pride do you feel bringing this to Zadar? You know,
Yeah.
this is your place that you always came every single summer.
Yeah.
I was looking at you when you were speaking to everyone,
Yeah.
and there was even a question that was brought up that said how the Champions League show started
Yeah.
in Zadar.
I don't know if you know that. So
I heard you say it yesterday.
Yeah, so Champions League show, basically all the Zooms that I did leading to year one, the summer of 2020, I had a quarantine for 2 weeks before I went to London. So that meant quarantining in a hotel room in London for 2 weeks, coming from the US, or being in Croatia free for 2 weeks because Croatia was on a green list to go into UK, no quarantine. US was on a red list if I went directly. So I decided to do, obviously, come to Croatia, got an Airbnb for 2 weeks, and did all my Zooms, all my interviews, talked to Matt, format of the show. Basically, the origins of the show were created in this city, which someone asked a question, I forgot about that. But literally, this city has a connection to our Champions League show because of those 2 weeks were so pivotal in us getting on the air and being free here and just having a peace of mind. It's surreal now. This summer will be 5 years that here we are 5 years later. Our Champions League show, which was nothing at that point, is now a global hit. And now, on top of that, there's a sports event here that I'm a big part of as well that's now prospering. So to be able to, you know, I'm American, born and raised in America, but I'm American-ish. I consider myself more Croatian in heart and mind than I do American, but all of this is surreal on some level, that it's all coming together the way it has. And yeah, to answer your question, proud is a massive understatement.
I know you've done a lot of things. You've produced some high-level stuff. But do you have did you have a pinch me moment that you've been able to bring some of the best stars here? I mean, first year we had
Here, yeah.
Ray Lewis, like the place that you grew up, you had family that you've introduced me to here that I can see their pride when they say, oh, you know, I grew up with Pete, and now look what he's doing to put Zadar on the map.
Bill Belichick on stage last year.
Bill Belichick.
To be on stage interviewing Bill Belichick in Zadar was as surreal a moment in my life as I've ever had. Just someone said 10 years ago, you're going to be in Zadar, Croatia, on a stage interviewing Bill Belichick. It's like, what science fiction crazy movie are you watching? That was probably, it's all, I mean, Matt and I work with a lot of celebrities, and we work with you.
I didn't catch that one at first.
That's mean. That's mean. That's mean.
Marco's mom, I'm sorry. But like, we work with a lot of celebrities, big names, and you can't get caught up in that. You just can't. I mean, Matt, same thing. Like, we deal with, you know, Super Bowl winners, World Cup winners, Oscar winners. You know, last week we were working with Tom Cruise and Tom Brady and David Beckham, and it's like, you really don't get that oh my God moment anymore very often. But that was one here.
And I think it's pretty cool, like watching from being here. Also, those people, they're interested to be at the conferences. They're telling me, oh, I'm learning stuff. I'm trying to develop a new skill, and that's why they're coming here.
Yeah.
Matt, this is your first time in Zadar at the Sunset Festival. I don't know if you've been to Croatia.
No, I hadn't, no, which I'm quite embarrassed about, but I hadn't been to Croatia until Sunday night, yeah.
When did you find out that you were coming?
Well, I don't want to stereotype Pete, but about 2 weeks before it happened.
That's pretty good.
It's like,
I'm usually not last minute, but in this case I was last minute.
so we're kind of preparing for a Europa League final, Championship playoff final, Champions League final. So in those kind of times, you know, we probably talk a little bit too much, like 6-7 times a day. And the end of one of these phone calls, what are you doing after the Champions League final? Trying to think of something, you know, invent something. Nothing really. Oh, what? Right, you're coming to Croatia. Basically a bit of R&R, speak on a couple of panels with me. Oh, and by the way, we're doing this award show So I'd spent the previous 2 weeks doing Europa League final, Champions League final. That was the hardest show of the lot.
Really?
Yeah.
The SofaScore award show?
Yeah, but fun at the same time because we hadn't done it before. We were throwing a lot of things together with a lot of different nationalities, whilst at the same time, I think we probably both kind of quite like a challenge. That was debatable for a day or two beforehand, but yeah, we pulled it off.
The film crew was from Italy. The technical crew was from Croatia. Production was from Britain and America. And we were thrown together in 24 hours and said, all right, put on an award show that's not going to embarrass CBS and SofaScore. And I think we didn't embarrass people. I don't think we embarrassed anyone, but that was a challenge. And credit to Matt, a bigger challenge for him because, you know, I knew a little bit going in, but he was truly, that was a thrown into the fire moment as any I've ever seen. But he, to his credit, he got it done.
It's funny, like when Pete kind of mentions all those famous people that we work with, and I always think my biggest job, whoever they are, is they want to be controlled. Like they want to know that somebody is kind of in charge of them and will tell them what to do and not panicking. You know, this gets kind of. But at the same time, well, they kind of go hand in hand. You want to make the host, the broadcaster, the pundit feel as comfortable as they possibly can. If their brain is as clear as possible of all the other stuff that's going on, then they can do their job and they can kind of do it well. And so whilst we were putting out fires left, right and centre trying to get this award ceremony to go, it's still kind of my job to make sure Kate is at her best, Peter Schmeichel's at his best, Thierry calling in, Jamie calling in, Micah calling in. You still can't sort of show them the stress that's sort of kind of going on there. And I think maybe for the first time, Kate did sense a bit of stress in me, but we got there.
What was the dynamic like? Obviously, Croatian American, but working in American TV, and then Matt, you're based in London, in England, and like the first interactions you guys had when you worked
Champions
together.
League.
Yeah, and how was that different? Like, did your worlds collide? Was it unique for you? Because in the end, you created the best football show in the world. Anywhere you go, people will credit it. But
I don't think I'm your normal American producer either, so that makes it even more difficult. I'm a little bit out there and not risk adverse, and you know, so you take the extreme American producer with a person who would work in Britain, but with an open mind.
I'd been producing sports shows, mainly football shows in England for a while, and then in 2019 I did the Champions League final in Madrid. It should have been like the epitome, right? It was Gary Lineker, Rio Ferdinand, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, like all good names, 2 English teams playing in Madrid, Champions League final. I think it's still the most watched non-terrestrial TV show in England. And this is to my detriment, but I came out of it kind of unfulfilled, which is like, I was questioning, like, what? Like, you've just, like, 12 million people watching or something, like, why? I'm working with these great names, why? And nothing against those people, nothing against English television. I just find English sports shows a little bit boring. So I was done. I quit, started another business, I wanted to do something else. And then a year or so later, I get this phone call. We're going to make the Champions League for America, but we're going to make it in England. Do you want to look after it? I was a bit, I don't really want to be a TV producer anymore. I'm sort of kind of done, but kind of got convinced, so did it. And then, like, I suppose I went into kind of normal producer role as I had been for the shows that I've been making for the last couple of years. Again, nothing against those shows, it was just of a style. And went into this project with like a kind of similar thing, and then very quickly realized that mine and Pete's brains were pretty similar in terms of taking chances, doing things a little bit differently, being able to laugh at yourself. And I kind of came back to this mantra that I'd had maybe sort of 10 years prior, before I was doing those Champions League shows, of sports entertainment. It's people's outlet, you know, and especially when we started it, because it was in COVID, and Pete kind of, you know, told me a lot. You know, I wasn't in America, I didn't know how badly COVID was affecting America. I could see it in London, obviously. And so becoming the entertainment kind of side of that show, which we did pretty quickly, became easier, because I was thinking, all right, like there's somebody sat at home who can't leave their house, but we can kind of bring that joy to them. And so all that, and Pete tells a great story about like the very first meeting we had with, what was there, eight or so kind of members of talent there. And they were all expecting, I think, this kind of big kind of presentation, and this is what we're going to do. And we essentially just kind of stood at the side and watched these people chat. You tell this story quite well.
Yeah, I mean, basically you had Peter Schmeichel, Jamie Carragher come in, who know each other. They would give each other a little bit of steak. Michael would come in. He didn't know Peter very well, but you know, they're introduced to one another. Kate would come in. She didn't know a few people, but they're starting to learn each other. They're having fun. They're talking. This is our first ever production meeting.
Alex was there, wasn't she?
Alex
as well?
Scott, Roberto Martinez. So the whole point of the meeting was, all right, let's get together. We're doing Champions League show. And we just kind of let them, and they were laughing more and more, joking more and more. And I'm not exaggerating. This went on for an hour. And we just sat there and let them do their thing. And then at some point, I'll never forget, Kate turns to me in front of the whole room and says, Pete, what are we doing? We're going to do a production meeting. I said, what you guys just did, you don't even need me. That's the show. And they're like, well, yeah. I'm like, no. That's the show. What you just did is the show. We're here to guide you. Everything you just did here, that's what we need to do on air.
It's so true. It was like reality TV. Like put 10 famous people, whoever it was, in a room and almost like, right, you guys have got to make that work. Which is again another thing that I preach quite a lot to the team now. Like they have to have ownership of that show. And before we do any Champions League show, we sit in a room for an hour and a half. And I've kind of got a bit of an idea of where the format's going, but at that moment, that format can go out of the window, because if Thierry says to me, I don't think we should be doing that, I think we should be analysing Dembele, he's the ex-footballer, he's won what he has, of course he's right, and we kind of go with that. So that format kind of changes, like kind of at that point, but we've got to a wonderful place with them where they care about it, they take ownership of it, they kind of believe in it, and so, you know, some of the ideas that come from them. But then even then, like once the show starts, yes, we've had that format that we've started working on maybe a week prior. We get it on the day of a show, it can go out the window. And then when we're actually in the show, 50% of what we do is not formatted, and it's just...
It can't be precious. So production, a lot of times producers will be very precious of their format because they've spent the whole week working on it down to the T, down to the second. And there's ownership of it. It's like, no, this is the way I see it happening. And they become very precious about it. All we care about is a good show. If we have a segment formatted that's going long and it's really good, we'll just kill the next segment. We'll just do a dummy segment, which we come out of commercial, talk for 20 seconds, do a promo, go back commercial. Now, an entire segment we prep for, edited, prep for, literally never sees air. But the segment before was so good, who cares? No one's at home thinking, wait, I thought we were going to do a segment on that. Nobody knows. The viewer is all that matters. I can't be precious about what our plan was. I need to be precious about what's entertaining for the viewer. So that comes with experience, I think. And it comes with confidence. You know, it comes with we're in a position where we don't have bosses that are breathing down our necks. Like, well, why was that segment only 30 seconds long? It's like they trust us, so we can do what we want. So it's been amazing.
It's funny. I had this exact conversation with Kate at whatever it was, 11 o'clock local time in Munich on Saturday night. So we've still got an hour of the show to go. Bear in mind, she's just been doing the David Beckham show and so she has no idea what we're doing, and comes in talking on Talkback, and she says, "Right, what are we doing for the next hour?" I'm like, "Okay, I have no idea."
No way. Really? How do you, that sounds so scary.
That's the best. It's what's fun. It's not scary. You know what's scary? Flying a plane when an engine goes out.
That's true.
That's scary. That's scary. Being in a home that's on fire is scary. We're doing sports television. Nothing about it should be scary. No one's going to die if we make a mistake.
And again, that ownership thing, right? Because they know how it works. We've educated them. It's their show. Like, honestly, we could point a camera and not talk to them for an hour. They'd be okay.
They'll be all right. They'll get, I mean, that comes with time, but like we're at that point now where we can, we're it's chemistry, trust, and ownership. They take ownership of the show. They're not just waiting, being told what to do and what to say. They care about the show as much as we do.
Absolutely. I know you guys
obviously all the really hilarious bits come from us though.
Yes, clearly, with the jokes that you guys have had tonight. I know you guys want to watch the.
Yeah, we got another minute.
We
got another 2 minutes.
All right, perfect. One of the things that you've always told me, Pete, which it sounds very simple in practice, was the ability to make mistakes. And again, I think that there's probably a lot of bosses that say that, and you always say, I don't want you to make the same mistake twice.
That's it.
But if you make a mistake, it's fine. Like, how do you get to that point that you can accept that? And did you guys ever have a moment coming from different backgrounds where maybe, Matt, you were like, I don't know if we can really do that early on, or any moment?
Well, we had the
like
whole
that?
Kate translation moment where you were kind of like, we can't do that, translate live on the air. And I was like, if she messes up, who cares? Let her do it. It was like day one. It was basically like, Kate, there was an interview, it was in Spanish, and I said, let's run it because Kate can translate it. Matt said, well, we can't do it live on the air. She says, see it, blah, blah, blah. Put it live on the air. Like, well, what if she doesn't know Spanish? I'm like, even better, we'll laugh at her. Like, my whole thing is like, I don't have a phone with me, my phone's over there. But people are now watching television, proper television, like this. What am I going to do on that screen to make me put the phone down and look up and stay engaged? If you do a perfect show, perfect analysis, in, out, boom, go, that is becoming white noise. It is not going to make me put my phone down. If we have a mistake, maybe orchestrated by us, something that goes off, I don't want to call it a mistake, something that goes off script, and suddenly it's a little bit chaos, it's not clean, that's going to make me put my phone down and watch what the hell's going on here. And here's the bonus. You've now made me put my phone down and watch the screen. Then we take that moment and put it on your phone.
People talk a lot like about second screens, and you can second screen them. So often in a pre-game situation, that's the second screen. That's the first screen.
It's true.
And on our aim, Pete says about white noise. It's so true. Our aim is to make that the first screen, and ideally make that redundant, but like second screen.
Fantastic.
I think before we wrap up, Marco's done an incredible couple of days here. It's the end of the season.
This isn't about him. This is about us.
Pete, you should do a 3-word end of season appraisal of Marco. Oof. 3 adjectives to describe Marco.
Likable, charismatic. Likable's number 1 by mile. That's I can't believe I'm doing this. It's just so against every inch of my fiber.
Just trying to make sure I'm hearing all this correctly. Do we have this recorded? Just make sure this part's clipped.
Like, you can't teach likable. You can't become likable. That is, you are either born with it or you're not. Likable, charismatic, and passionate.
Thank you.
Pretty good, right? I didn't say handsome.
You didn't say short, though. I was expecting short. That's what I was waiting for. I didn't want to get too excited yet.
Anyone that knows you already knows that.
Do I still have a job?
Yeah, you have a job.
Is that seat raised?
All right, yeah, you can't say anything. Matt, go on to the fashion show.
All right.
Matt, thanks so
you,
much. Pete, appreciate the kind words. Thank you for bringing me to Zadar again.
All right. Oh, one of them was too. That was good.
Cheers, buddy.
Welcome back to Sunset Sessions, hosted by Marco Messina. I'm joined by Haley Lowen from Vayner Sports, marketing director. Say it again?
Cohen.
Cohen. Did I mess up your last name?
Yeah.
I've gotten all the Croatian names right all day, and I messed up your last name.
It's
The
okay.
last one of the day.
It's
I'm
all
sorry
good.
about that.
No worries.
You said it's your first time in Europe? Mm-hmm. How did that happen?
I don't know. I've just never been here.
And Croatia's your first?
Yeah. And I'm really happy that it is because I love it here.
Yeah, you said already you're obsessed with Europe.
Yeah.
What do
I
you
would
like about
not change it for the world.
What do you like about it?
The people, the food, the culture,
Whoops. Had a everything's going crazy now.
Yeah.
It's the end of the festival. Flag just fell out outside. It's all right. We keep going.
yeah, everything. Like all the people, everyone is so nice here. I
Yeah.
feel it's just like safe, comforting. It doesn't feel like I'm completely out of the world that I've come from. And it's kind of crazy to say that being from New York and everything is so different than here. But it's exciting and it's beautiful. The weather's great. It's gorgeous. Yeah.
That's also why, though. It's because we're from New York.
Exactly.
People over there, it's like nobody smile. If you smile at somebody in New York,
They're like, you're a creep.
we're gonna fight. Sometimes I've been here 4 years now in Zadar, and I've gone for like a run by the beach, and I'm like, when I'm in New York, I give people like thumbs up on my run. Nobody does anything in New York. Over here, people are just like smiling. They'll give you a high five.
All the time.
It's the European lifestyle.
Yeah, I love it. I can't wait to visit more places. And I also can't wait to come back. There's so much that I'm not able to do in this time, and that so many people, I've made so many relationships with people here that have been telling me about all these places I need to go, and they're like, hit me up when you come back so I can give you the exact itinerary of where to go. And I'm like, I trust you more than I trust Google, so yes, I will definitely be
100%.
texting you.
You always need an expert wherever you go.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I heard your name the first time, just your first name, Haley, when Stipe called you out, and he made you stand up, and
Yep.
it seemed like a cute moment. What's been your relationship like with him, and how did you guys start working together?
Yeah, so he joined Vayner Sports the end of 2020. So it was less than a year from when I started. It was also at the time we were growing our agency. So we started working together, built a great relationship. I think primarily not just with him, but I always make a point to build relationships with the families. So I built a great relationship with his wife, his kids, everyone kind of just integrate into what really makes him him to be able to do the work that we get to do. And I think when you're as open, as communicative as you can be in these types of relationships, it's all about trust and knowing that the people that you're working with have your best interests at heart, which is obviously always what we try to make athletes kind of understand. Yeah, we just kicked things off, and I've been working for him ever since.
He seems like a fun guy to be around.
He is. I think the beauty of it is him and his wife are so respectful. And I think that changes the game when working with athletes in general. I think it's very tough when you work with people who don't understand the stuff that you're going through, or just the other work that you have on your plate, or that they're a priority, but like there's also life that happens. They've been incredible. And I love working with them. I love talking to them. They're real. I mean, you saw yesterday,
Yes.
Stipe's a character.
Yes.
He came off the stage and was like, I'm going into comedy. And I was like, can we focus on the content creation first, and then we'll hit the comedy side of things? Like, let's let this pop off.
It's the first time I've heard him speak at length, and I was just like mesmerized by how funny he is, but also how honest. Like
Yeah.
he's honest to a fault. Like
Yeah.
he'll make fun of himself. He'll be like, "Yeah, I ate an Oreo with my daughter, and I wasn't supposed to." Like he put these little details in that were never needed to. So he must be a blast to work with. Like, is he just like this all the time?
Yes. And he loves ideas. He loves coming up with content. When he gets an idea, he gets so excited about it, and he'll tell his wife, and then they'll call me and tell me about it, and I'm like, it's so hard to like turn you away from this idea because you're so excited about it, but like, what if we just look at it a little bit differently? He's like, oh yeah, I really like that too, and I'm like, let's go. He's very collaborative.
What's the funniest idea he's ever pitched to you where you're like, uh-oh, how am I gonna break it to him that might need to be changed?
None that I've been like, these are bad.
Okay, but what's like one example a funny one that had to be tailored?
I mean, there's stuff that we haven't done yet. I think more in the content side of things is like ideas for podcasts that he has. And I'm like, that's great, but that exists. So how do we make it Stipe version? Segments or stuff in a podcast or different types of content that we create. It's like, these are great, but how do we make it Stipe version? So
Got it. And I heard him say like he wanted to do fragrances after yesterday.
The world is his oyster right now, and I think that's the beauty of it too, in terms of working with an athlete at his level, but also where he sits in his career. He doesn't really have, like, he's so open to trying new things, which is great because a lot of people and a lot of athletes, when they're done with their career, they're like, no, like, I want to sit, I want to do nothing, I've done my work, like, this is it. He's like, no, I want to try everything. Like, let's see what hits, let's see what pops off, let's see what we can have fun with, and also let's see what we can build a business out of. I think that's ultimately the end of the story here, is how do we build a business out of everything that you love, everything that you do, and everything that is authentic to you.
And what are some things that you've been able to work on and projects that you've had that have had success, or things that you guys are planning to work on? I assume the fragrance thing, it sounds like a joke, but it might be a reality.
The fragrance thing came out of left field, so I don't really know. But I'll keep you posted on that. I'm not
excited.
saying no to it. I'll just keep you posted. I mean, there's a couple different things. I think that there are interests of his that we've been able to build with other brands, and I think there's things that he really wants to do. Like he's constantly told me about like a liquor idea that he has, or a canned seltzer or something in that region. So we're trying to figure out like what doesn't exist that's centric to you, or like what exists that's still centric to you that we can kind of build off of. And yeah, I mean, there's a couple other ideas, I think, in the content space specifically, where we have a couple of series that we're trying to launch soon on YouTube, as we're trying to get him to be more of a content creator and a face of a camera. His personality, as you saw, it shines, and we want to show more of it, because I think during his fighting career, and I've told him this, he was a little bit more reserved, and now he doesn't have that weight on him of fighting, so it's like, all right, let's let it rip. And he's so funny, so like, might as well.
And how do you find the balance? Because my mind goes two places when you say like a seltzer, obviously, or any kind of drink. You think, wow, a lot of people are making money from them. We see them sell for like billions of dollars. You hear about all these exits. And then there's the other side that says it is a crowded space, but maybe his core audience will attach itself to it. Like, how do you strike that balance between let's lean into the core audience and then they're going to be the ones that help build the brand, or do we have to differentiate it completely?
I mean, I think that's what kind of flowing through the process, like you get answers to a lot of those questions in terms of the direction that you need to go. And I think that, again, these are just ideas. These aren't things that are written down on paper, and not even that idea specifically is like top of the list of where we want to go in terms of things we're doing with him. But I think going through like the necessary means to get to from point A to point B in terms of an idea gives you a lot of the answers to those questions, and that's what we strive to do in terms of building relationships and talking to a lot of people who are in the industry. And this doesn't just go for Stipe, I'm talking about in general, like for athletes when they have an idea and they want to like pursue that, it's how do we build relationships for them, or how do we take the relationships that we already have as an agency and guide them in the directions, or get them answers on the best way to go about this certain project.
And how'd you get started in this field? How did a girl from Long Island end up working with a UFC champ?
You know, I get that a lot. I love working in sports. I loved sports growing up, so I purposely went to Penn State. Okay. Knew that I wanted to do sports after college, so I worked while I was there. Worked in the athletic department, worked a couple different versions of the athletic department, like strategic communications, the marketing group. Worked with Learfield when I was there, had a bunch of internships, and just knew that this is where I wanted to be, and kind of networked my way through it. And I give that guidance to a lot of people who call for mentorship calls, and I'm like, you gotta have conversations, you gotta build relationships, and you gotta get in front of people, because networking is this business, like all about the people you know and how to communicate.
Absolutely, yeah, it's so important. And is your family, were they into sports as well?
A little bit. I mean, my parents are from New York too, so my dad's a huge sports fan. My sister was a D1 gymnast in college.
Like, do they go crazy that you're doing this, that you're in this field?
Yeah, they love it. I mean, I think that it's cool for them to see. I think a lot of it they understand too, which is great, and they're really proud of me. So I'm happy about it.
Besides this trip, because obviously it will be number one, what's the most fun you've had working on a project, either with Stipe or with other clients?
That's a good one. I mean, I go to Cleveland often. I think a lot of the commercial shoots that we get to do with him have been incredibly fun because he makes them fun. And I don't know, like all the Super Bowls that I get to go to in the weeks of those events, it's kind of like this in a way where you're just like networking, talking, meetings, events, having conversations. Those have been pretty fun. But I honestly, this is top of the top for me. I don't know if there's anything in my career that's going to beat this.
It's going to be hard.
It's going to be very hard.
Well, you have to come back next year and do it again.
100%.
And you have to come to Europe more often. Because clearly you're meant for this lifestyle.
I agree. I might move here.
Me too. Honestly, me too. What are we doing in New York? I think about it all. I love New York. I want New York to come with me, but I don't want it to be in New York.
I want parts of New York to come with me.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoy my life there. I love the fast pace when I'm there. But when you get out of it and you see what else is out there,
You're
it's
like,
how do you give this up?
You said you could work from home a lot of times?
Yeah.
So, you work from a Croatian beach.
Literally. I mean, it's 6 hours ahead, so I could have a full day here before I start working.
That's smart.
Yeah.
That's good math. I like the way you think. Haley, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming to the Sunset Sports Festival.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Thank you.
Of course. I'm sweating. I keep